Okay, now this part, it doesn't involve doing any problems. Okay, this part is really just to kind of maybe educate you a little bit more about the calculator functions. Um, and one thing that you may not appreciate is how important it is to make sure that you enter in the correct alternate hypothesis into the calculator function. So what I did is for both NumWorks and Texas Instruments, but I'll show the NumWorks first. Um, if you use all the same values, you don't change any of the values. Everything's the same. The only thing that you change is the sign of the alternate hypothesis. What kind of values do you get out of it at the end? So you end up with, uh, let's see, that's a p-value. Oh yeah. So you end up with a p-value, of 0.0162. Here you get a p-value of 0.0324, and here you get a p-value of 0.984. All right. And I kind of explain a little bit as to why that happens and kind of what's happening here. So just remember that, as you're putting in these values, one of the things that you put in is what the alternate hypothesis is. And if you don't really think about it, it'll just kick out an answer and you may just absently just put this number in when in fact, you meant to put less than instead of greater than. Okay, that one simple mistake, has a p-value, which would be to reject the null versus one which has failed to reject the null. Okay. And the same is true with the Texas Instruments, with the z-test function here. Again, all the values are the same, except the value, that you choose, here in the z-test, right? Everything else is the same. And you can see it'll give the same areas too. And it can mean the difference between rejecting the null or failing to reject, and therefore affecting your final answer. All right. And the same is true for a t-test. It's going to make a separate video for that, but it's not really necessary. Again, I kept all the values the same, just changed the value of the alternate hypothesis. And you can see you get different p-values here down in the bottom, which again would affect your outcome. And again, the same is true for the Texas Instruments as well. Okay. So just be aware of how sensitive, these functions are, and you've got to enter in all the parameters correctly. Again, it's only doing what you tell it to do. And if you miss a detail, it's just going to do what you told it to do and to calculate something with a missed detail. Okay. All right. Well, that's the end of that. Let me know if you have any questions.